I had not anticipated finishing this book today, but I did. So these are my notes for my April 2024 reading of Courage to Soar by Simone Biles with Michelle Burford. I started this past Monday, 8 April 2024. I'm filming this Wednesday, 10 April 2024, and I finished it today. It's 250 pages. And this is the 2016 Zondervan edition, and I'll put the ISBN in the video description. So here's what the book looks like. And oh, what happened? Why did I get it finished? My phone decided to have some technology issues, and I could not charge it. No matter how I plugged it in, my headphones didn't work. It was zilch. I've been having headphone problems for a while, and like the charger it typically worked if I put it in a certain placement, and it just all gave out today. And so then when I finally got it charging again, it's like, because if it doesn't charge, it's a problem. There's a problem with the jack, like the headphone jack and plug-in jack. And what I've been filming this on is supposedly a wireless charger, but I have been unsuccessful thus far in getting it to charge my phone wirelessly. So it's like, so I had to figure all that out, and was like, well, what's my plan of attack here? But so then once it got charging, I was like, I'm just gonna not touch it, not listen to music, nothing. So I decided to read. So I finished this today. It was a little faster than I thought I was gonna read, but hey. So let's do book and reading notes. So let's start with book notes. So that's construction and design. I like the design. The spacing bothered me a little bit more at the beginning of the book, but I adapted, and it didn't bother me so much after that. It's like a 1.5 spacing, which is, I mean, it makes it like, there's less text on each page, right? So it goes a little faster, but it would still, yeah. The chapters I thought were a good length. They were formatted to have the chapter name, and then a quote. Stylistically, that was kind of the approach there. It's written by Simone Biles with the help of Michelle Burford. I will note, on a construction thing, there is an acknowledgement section, and I was reading it, and Simone Biles misspelled the name of her co-writer. She said Michelle Burford instead of Burford, and so I am actually pointing this out and bringing it out because the outside jacket and the inside, like the official stuff, says Burford, and I'm bringing that up because I'm including both names in the video description. So I'm trying to get the right name. So I think it's Burford, not Buford, but Simone Biles does write it as Buford. Okay, so just I think it's Burford. I've read another one of these books she does in collaboration with the person, and I've brought that one up on this channel before, the Alicia Keys memoir that I brought up back in, I think it was 2021. I think it's Burford. And I will double check that before I do this. Well, in the book jacket at the back, so about the author, Burford. But since it's Simone Biles with Michelle Burford, I'm thinking through this for this notes video, the video description. I'm going to do Miss Simone Biles as the author, and then for the title, and then the video description, and then in the video description with Michelle Burford. All right, love you. Stay safe. Have fun. Parents are off, and so yeah. So stylistically, I'm explaining a little bit of what I'm doing. In having read Michelle Burford work, or influenced, or I don't know how to, like, collaborative work. This style and writing is very different than the one with Alicia Keys. So I'm guessing it is actually written, like, I'm guessing Simone Biles is actually the author, though Michelle Burford was very instrumental, kind of thing. Yeah. So those are book notes. Reading notes. It is an autobiography. So an autobiography is somebody writing about themselves. So Simone Biles writing about Simone Biles. And it follows her career, kind of starts off with her being born March 1997 in Columbus, Ohio. And then there were she had two older siblings, one sibling younger than her. And so then they go to Texas to be with their grandparents because there's some home dynamics. And then they try to get them back in with the parents, but her and her younger sister are in a foster home for like a year, but her mom keeps failing drug tests. So then they go back to the grandparents in Texas, and the grandparents adopt them. So then she starts calling them mom and dad, even though they're her grandparents, right? Because she gets adopted by them. And then her great grandparents, so one generation above the grandparents, she calls her grandparents. So there's some logistics, and it kind of documents she started her gymnastics career by jumping. She was a really high energy kid who jumped off a bunch of things and liked to learn to do flips off of the swing from her brother, which is like, means like she tried to do the flips herself, right? Because she's kind of pushing herself as a self-taught gymnast up until she joined, you know, the gymnastics gym when she was 6 or whatever. And so her big brother was really instrumental in her starting, because he took pity on her and was like, I'll teach you how to do a flip off the swing so you don't hurt yourself, right? And then she just took off. And then it follows her career all the way through to the 2016 Summer Olympic Games. And this was published in 2016. Why did I choose this? My mom was really, we had a kid on the street growing up who did gymnastics, and my mom was just really captivated by her. And so I actually bought this book for my mom as a present one time, and my mom still has the book, and so I decided, I was like, maybe I'll read it. We had a tumbling, what's a reading note here? I am like the anti-Simone Biles. Okay. Like I was like, I actually enjoyed reading this book. This might be one of the few humans around this planet that I would say I'm like completely opposite of. Like, I just share like nothing in common with. Down to, in the tumbling, we had a tumbling chapter segment, part of physical education in elementary school, and the baseline was like, they wanted everybody to be able to do a cartwheel, and me, and you know, in a class of 20, me and 2 guys were the only people who were not able to do a cartwheel. And then there was also like a keyboarding class where, you know, women are stereotypically good at keyboarding, just like gymnastics. And then they put the bottom 5 names up, you know, and it was 4 men and me. I'm Tanis Leonhardi, she, her, hers, is Seattle. And so I just remember being like, all of those gender stereotypes, like women are smaller than men, so they should be better at gymnastics. Women should be better at keyboarding. Like there was like, because that's kind of what secretaries do and stuff like that. All of those female stereotypes, I just failed. And I was just like, this is like somebody who succeeded, okay? And she just skyrocketed and soared. And I was just like, hi, to date, I'm over 30 years old and I cannot and have not ever done a cartwheel. So like when, if you were interested in like, she actually goes into a little bit of details of like what she was working on in her routines and stuff like that, and goes into like the terminology, and I'm like, nothing to do with me. Like, I don't know what that means. So yeah, so there was a bit of, she was a bit like my sister, right? So her 2 older siblings ended up living with her parents, and then she and her younger sister ended up living with her grandparents. And I have one sibling, an older sister, and she talks about how bossy she was, and she would make her little sister do stuff, and I was like, you sound exactly like my sister. Down to that, both Simone Biles and my sister's favorite color is purple. But the bossy thing, I was just like, ah, dang, she sounds like my sister. I mean, like, we even have like, there's a picture comes to mind of when I was like a little baby, and my sister put me between her legs and was like, you know, manhandling me and dressing me up and stuff, and I was just like miserable inside, but you know, somebody had to take that picture, and I was just like, you know, and the older bossy sister's like, I'm just gonna make you do it. Okay, and then I think I didn't actually hear anything about Simone Biles until like 2015, 2016. I think there was a bees moment that I completely missed, but then like came up later where it was like there was a bee in the bouquet, and she looked at it and it said it went viral, and it didn't ever hit me if it did go viral. Like how I was not part of that audience of virality, so to speak. But I read about it later. I found it later at my own initiative, and it was kind of like, she like really just like was like, get the bee away from me, get me away from the bee, you know, kind of thing. More like, get me away from the bee. And I was just like, if I were in that position, what would I have done? I would have like looked at the bee and just been like, are you gonna sting me again? I've been stung by a bee multiple times, and I did not ever react like she did. So it was kind of an interesting personality flare-up of like, right, at our flare-ups we can assess, no, I am nothing like Simone Biles and nothing like the greatness she has done too. There is one interesting thing I thought in this. So there's a quote she brings up. She's just gone to college, and then so it's towards the end of 2015 she brings up this quote of along the lines of, if your dreams do not scare you, they are not big enough. On this page, the one she included is from Ellen Johnson Sirleaf, and this is again so after September 2015 when she's thinking about colleges, and then she kind of invokes it and decides not to go to college and compete. She decides to turn pro instead and make money from gymnastics and stuff like that. And she goes on in the next year, so she invokes this quote in 2015, and the next year in 2016 she goes on and wins, what was it, 4 gold medals at the Olympic Games. I was like, here's an interesting thing. So that's what happened for her. 2 years before she invoked that quote in her life, I was in an elevator on campus. I was attending the University of Hawaii at Manoa. I'll even show you guys the picture. So I was at the University of Hawaii at Manoa. I was in college, so a path Simone Biles did not take. So again, I'm the anti-Simone Biles. And it was 2013, so multiple years before Simone Biles, this quote was invoked in her life. I found this and I took a picture. If your dreams don't scare you, they aren't big enough. So not the same quote. And it was a piece of paper somebody had written on it. Not me. I don't have cursive that pretty. And they had taped it on the inside of an elevator. So I took this picture, let's see, November 15, 2013, 7:51 p.m. And I took a picture and I saved it and I thought about it a little bit. And the following year, I won my first international prize in science. It was in mineralogy. And so that was 2014 that I won that prize. And I was like, is that the equivalency? Is invoking a quote and then doing something on the international stage equivalent? So for Simone, so we both have the same progression of invoke it one year, next year do something at an international level. Is my international prize in mineralogy equivalent to 4 gold medals at the Olympic Games? Some would say no. Some would say the international prize in science is much greater. And I would say awards like the Nobel Prize definitely add weight to that. I was like, a lot of Nobel laureates like literally come up with a science on which technology is based, right? On which society functions. In which case there's like no Olympian is equivalent to like even one Nobel laureate, right? But I was like, well, maybe for contextualizing what I did, right? Because I didn't win the Nobel Prize. So maybe that one actually is a better in terms of like understanding the actual notability, because there's like super high turnover with athletes and a bunch of people, there's a bunch of sports, there's a bunch of, that kind of stuff. But I was like, is that the equivalency? What my international prize that I won back in 2014 is equivalent to 4 Olympic gold medals? I don't know. Anyway, not the same quote, right? Mine was, somebody posted, it was anonymous. They didn't lose a name. It wasn't all formal like the one Simone Biles had where there's no apostrophe, spell out the word, that kind of stuff. So it's like clearly, no, what's the way of saying? I'm not paranoid, right? I know this is not about me in any way, shape, or form. And I know she's not, that quote she did not get from me, right? We're vastly different, not even the same quote. The one that I saw was anonymous. The one she invokes is not. Different wording, actually. In very different setting, right? I found it in my life in college, in which she did not even choose to go to college. So yeah, it was just interesting, like a reminder of the same quote. Maybe it was part of a fad, right? That quote being invoked in people's lives, and then it's kind of cool to think of, I was part of that fad, kind of thing. But I also didn't put the quote there, right? Somebody else put the quote there, and while she invoked it in her life, right, it was not the same quote, not from the same source. She didn't get it from me. She came up with it herself independently of me, right? She did not copy me, Simone Biles. Right? We're not friends. She's not friends with me on Facebook. She didn't go to my Facebook album where I posted the picture of it and get it from there, because my pictures are private. All right. So don't even worry about that if that was a concern for you. I have not ever met Simone Biles, and I'm okay with that. I'm not gymnastically inclined. But if you are, you might enjoy this book. So in conclusion, those are my notes on Courage to Soar by Simone Biles with Michelle Burford.